Hi, I'm Virginia, and this is the Medical Writing Uncut podcast by Write Clinic. Here with me today is Chris from Specialist Language Courses, and their specialty is to help people learn medical English. So I thought it would be really interesting if you're looking at learning medical writing and doing it in English to learn from Chris and the kind of things that he can help you with. So thank you so much for being here today, Chris.
That's a real pleasure. Thank you for inviting me to be here today.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, do you want to tell me more about how specialist language courses was set up and the type of teachers and things that you have there and the services you provide?
Sure, yeah. Well, we've been around for a while now. So we founded back in 2012. We were initially a consultancy for English for specific purpose, which included English for medical purposes. And we were essentially putting teachers together with clients. But then someone asked us to create an English for doctors course to support very high level speakers from other countries who are coming to the UK to work in private hospitals, but needed to really work on their communication skills, especially around empathy, inclusive conversation, driving those conversations to a kind of clear outcome, if you like, for the patient. But because the way it was done in the countries they were coming from was different to the way it is kind of done here, the company we spoke to wanted a course to support them. So we ended up writing an online course. And so we kind of developed the business from there. And since then, we've written and published around 850 hours of digital content all around language which supports healthcare professionals and healthcare students to use English in all kinds of ways. So some of these courses are profession specific. So doctors, nurses, radiographers, pharmacists, for example. Some of them are more kind of general. So we're looking at grammar, medical terminology, that kind of area. Some are academic, so English for medical academic purposes or writing for publication. So very high level courses for researchers who want to publish articles in international journals in English. A lot of that is around language, of course, but also around convention and format and how to submit an article successfully. And then the final thing we do is exam preparation for healthcare professionals who want to move to other countries. So typically this is the OET medical English test. And we work with a lot of doctors who are moving to the US, for example, or nurses who are moving to the UK. So yeah, we kind of develop the content and it's all in the sort of third, fourth, fifth versions at the moment. You can do it on an app these days. So, we work with a lot of people who just jump straight to the phone, don't bother with a laptop at all. Yeah, that's kind of us really. Yeah, we work with the National Health Service here in the UK, but also with hospitals and universities and nursing colleges in other parts of the world.
Lovely. That's amazing. So you've been around for quite a while and you've helped so many healthcare professionals improve their medical English to go on and do all kinds of things. So that's really, really amazing. I wanted to ask you your opinion about native English because a lot of people are really worried
Mm.
that when they become a medical writer, they need to know native English. But I don't agree with the word native English because I think you can learn English in lots of different ways. There isn't really a classification for native. So, do you want to just explore that topic a little bit?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, and I think in the world of English language teaching, it's also a pretty big topic. So, in addition to publishing content, we also provide online training, and we have a number of trainers who work with us to support healthcare professionals improve their English for these quite specific reasons. Um, I'm also not keen on the term native speaker. I don't think it's really appropriate when it comes to English. I think most English language conversations these days are between people who speak it as a second or third or fourth language. Most English is, it's kind of English as a lingua franca, if you like, and that means all kinds of things. And even within the UK, we've got people who are speaking English in all kinds of different ways. There's no, people talk about a received pronunciation sort of approach, but I don't think that covers that many conversations. And certainly in my experience, there are many, many people who have learned English as a second language who use it much more effectively than people who speak it as a first language. So when it comes to writing, that's absolutely the case. I was reading Joseph Conrad the other day, Heart of Darkness, and he had English as a third language. Yet, he wrote these most amazing novels. And I think, it's a good example of how um, language doesn't hold you back, whether it's a first language or a second language or a third language. And this kind of sort of native speakerism is a bit of a throwback, really. I remember when I started teaching English back in the 90s, people were advertising for native speakers. And since then, I've worked with teachers who have come from many different countries, and their ability to teach English is as good, if not better, than many so-called native speaker. So yeah, I'm with you. That was a very long answer, I think, to say I'm basically agree with you on that one.
I love that. No, the more detail, the better, because it shows that you have, strength behind your reason why. So
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you also that you have some teachers who teach medical English who have also gone into medical writing. So are those the people that tend to teach courses to people who are looking to get into medical writing as well?
Yes, I think a lot of those teachers are working at pretty high levels. So it might be that they're working with medical professionals who need to pass a test and achieve an advanced level score. It might be people, particularly working with researchers who have fantastic English, but just need to purpose it into writing um, research articles, which is not so far away from medical writing, I think. And those will be articles that are published in high-ranking journals at times. So I think the skills needed there. There's a real crossover between language and how you purpose and express that language, and the kind of conventions you follow when writing in this case. So yes, I think there is a definitely a connect between people who are teaching at that level and people who are also writing at that level. And yes, some of the people we work with do both. They teach and they write, and that's a great combination to have, I think.
Yeah, that's brilliant, because I think for aspiring medical writers who might be listening, it will also give them confidence to learn from someone who does the type of writing that they're looking to get into. And I think also,
Yes.
yeah, it gives people some options. So if they're coming from
Mm.
abroad, maybe they don't want to go straight into clinical practice. Maybe they want to go into writing and publication because it might be a bit more accessible for them. So it's good to know that you accommodate for that, which is awesome. So do you want to talk about a couple of the courses which are popular to help people with, those kinds of publications or journal writing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a couple which sort of stand out in particular. One is the English for medical academic purposes. That is, although it has an academic focus and it kind of was written to target um, medical students, I guess, who really wanted to, work with English on their course and then outside their course. So many medical degrees are now taught in English, irrespective of where you take that degree. And we see English students who are studying medicine in Bulgaria, for example, and in many different places. Um, so that course really looks at academic English, how it, with the kind of vocabulary it draws on, the kind of the structure of the language, whether it would be choice of grammar, whether it would be sentence construction, how you connect those sentences together within paragraphs, how those paragraphs then cohere, what an introduction looks like, what a conclusion looks like, what an abstract looks like. So it really goes into that. It also looks at things like structuring presentations. So again, having a clear story that has a real flow behind it, and using language to create that, so the audience, it's all about the audience, really understands where the presentation is going, and that's important. So that could be whether it be a presentation at a conference or whether it be giving a lecture to a room full of students. And so the course looks at the language and the techniques to achieve that. So that's the first course that jumps to mind. The second course is slightly higher level, and that's the writing for publication one I just mentioned. So that was put together by Professor John Skelton, he's the president of EALTHY. So this is the Association for English Teachers of Healthcare. Virginia gave a webinar recently. And he also founded and headed up the Center for Clinical Communication at Birmingham University, who do a lot of work with language and linguistics. And he's created a course which really is a kind of step by step to using language and convention and technique to get articles published. I mean, this is high level stuff in lots of ways. And so it assumes a very high level of English to begin with, but you're able to take that language and then purpose it into writing. Um, what can be very complex about very complex subjects, but it does it in such a way that it really breaks it down and makes it simple. And we're really pleased to have someone of his expertise to be able to um, create that course. He's also done some teaching with us. So recently we worked with a university in Milan, a medical university, and they had a group of researchers, and he worked with them with the course and him providing some tutoring alongside that to support them. And we had some tremendous feedback from that. So we're looking to hopefully, sort of do more of that kind of work in the future. And I think the crossover with medical writing is really clear there.
Brilliant. It's so great that you bring on experts and people have the opportunity to learn from them. So speaking of opportunities, where can people learn more from you?
Well, we have a website, so specialistlanguagecourses.com, of course, and there's lots of details about the courses there. But also, if anyone is interested in taking one of the courses or looking at the kind of services that we're providing, yeah, they can always contact me directly. My email is chris@specialistlanguagecourses.com. So very happy to communicate directly with people who are looking to, get some more information about this, maybe look at how they can support themselves in their own professional development and so on. So yes, there's lots of stuff there. And we are always very open to having the conversation. So yeah,
Brilliant.
absolutely get in touch.
Thank you so much. I'll also link your LinkedIn and also the LinkedIn page for specialist language courses as well. And also, thank you again for inviting me to talk about medical writing as a career choice at EALTHY. That was really great. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
And
well, we had tremendous engagement. I mean, we had a lot of people sign up, a lot of people attend. I mean, webinars, there's so many webinars these days. It's difficult to really generate some big interest, but yours was a real winner on that front. And I think that, there were a lot of people who are members of EALTHY, so they are lecturing on medical English at universities in various parts of the world, clearly interested in medical writing and exploring what that can look like for them. And they have all this language skill. It's just a question of whether they can take that and then purpose it into the field of medical writing. So it's kind of the other way from you, because you started as a pharmacist and then went into medical writing, and these people are starting as linguists and then moving into kind of healthcare writing. So we'll need that technical knowledge that you bring. And they'll need to acquire. But if they're working at universities and working with medical students or pharmacy students or whatever it happens to be, there's a lot in there for them to work with already.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I'll link to that down below as well, so you can check that out in the description. And so, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, a real pleasure. Thank you for inviting me, Virginia. And
Thank you.
yeah, we'll be in touch soon, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you so much to the audience for watching or listening, and we'll see you at the next episode. Bye.
Right. Bye.